Hey, babe.
I'm Kathy Judson with Friends of the Police Ranger District.
And I'm Judson-Krebbs. I'm a retired Forest Service employee. I spent 30 years on the Police Ranger District. And very much interested in the proposed Upper Locksaw Land Exchange. We're just kind of talking off the cuff here about some of the things that, how we got involved in this. To begin with, having been retired in 1995, and this not happening until 2008, I think, when 2009, when we first got wind of it, although there had been work being done on it for since 2006. I guess the way that the 7 of us retired Forest Service employees who have accumulated 140 years on the Police Ranger District in our careers, and we actually became aware of it. I became aware of it when I received an anonymous letter from a district employee who was very concerned about the exchange. And I'd like to read a paragraph or two from a letter which she wrote to the forest supervisor, Tom Riley at the time, and the regional forester, Mr. Tidwell, Tom Tidwell, who is now the chief of the Forest Service. A copy of this letter was sent to Mr. Tidwell, and this is the way this employee felt concerning the Upper Locksaw Exchange. I'll read a couple of paragraphs. First, as an employee of this district, that's the Police Ranger District, I'm frustrated by the steamroller pace this project has taken on. When I think about all of the hard work, time, and effort previous and current employees have put in on the district on every acre, it humbles me to be part of such a proud management tradition. All of these people, past and present employees and volunteers, take ownership in their activities on this ground that we hold and manage in the public trust. I personally value the Palouse for its multiple use aspects within the resource management spectrum. To have people who have no connection with the ground put it unceremoniously on the chopping block with coerced and then ignored district input not only frustrates me, but angers me, because it seems to me that we are the prime stakeholders in this discussion, and the input that comes from this office, that's the Palouse office, should be valued. And it's comments like that that throughout my career with the Forest Service mirror the people I worked with and for as far as our concern for the land and concern particularly for the Police Ranger District. It's a very special place. It's very productive. It's used by 100,000 people in the vicinities of Moscow, Pullman, little towns of Princeton, Deary, Beauville, Elk River. It's part of multiple use management of a resource that is really, truly multiple use. So that's the way I got involved in it. When I read this letter in its entirety, I felt that some of the things that we had predicted in the past through past exchanges that have occurred on the Palouse District and the Clearwater National Forest, I just felt that the Palouse District was on the chopping block to be traded away, exchanged for checkerboard lands such as the Upper Locksaw and all the checkerboard lands that exist on the St. Joe Ranger District, St. Mary's Ranger District. It used to be the St. Joe National Forest. So that stirred us up, and when I notified other colleagues that had retired and what I had worked with, they became stirred up as well. And that's kind of the way we got involved in this. So some of the things that we'll share here today, with Kathy and I, most can be confirmed by various documents that we have, letters, emails. This isn't something that I feel you should take and say, okay, we'll bring these people to court on this. It's so a lot of it is our thoughts as to what goes in, what this exchange means. And I think we'll take it from there. Kathy, how did you get involved in this thing? I know there were some articles in the papers that came out that Dave Johnson had in the Lewiston Trib, and I just wanted to know, friends of the Merriman Irvin McCroskey State Park, or what have you? How did you get involved?
Actually, I had one of the local loggers tell me that there's going to be a meeting about an exchange that they wanted to exchange out some of the land in the Police Ranger District. And so we went to the meeting and were absolutely appalled to find out that the Forest Service would trade off land of this extreme value and land that my family's hunted on forever, and my husband's family and all of his family, and it's been a way of life for the whole family. So after going to this meeting and finding out this was true and this was going to take place, I made a whole lot of phone calls and told people what was going on, and we decided to form a group, Friends of the Police Ranger District, and let the public be aware of what was going on, because the Forest Service has totally neglected to tell the public. So the public is unaware of what was really happening and that they were going to lose these lands, and so we started that group and are just trying to let the public know all the information we can. And so we're gonna show you a map here, and John's gonna explain a little bit and show you where the upper Lochsaw land is that's been clear cut and is going to cost the public an enormous amount of money for restoration, and show you some of that. So what do you think, John? You want to show them our maps here? And
well, we're ad-libbing this, so it's not written out, and there'll be a lot of things that aren't in order, but we'll do our best to give our ideas of what happened. Kathy, I did want to ask, was that meeting you attended the first public meeting, or was it the second one in which a large group had gathered in Moscow?
Actually, the one that we went to was a meeting from McCroskey State Park. It wasn't just for the Upper Lochsaw at all. It just turned out that Representative Andrew Hawes was going to be at it.
Representative of WPT.
Yeah, representing Western Pacific Timber, of which we have learned that they are not the ones that purchased this land. The company that purchased this land is TWJ Holdings, and was then transferred or sold, or however they did it, into Western Pacific Timber, both of which are owned by Tim Blickseth and James Dolan, as a matter of record from Idaho Secretary of State. And what we felt is that this was extreme deception out of the public, because it was called TWJ Holdings, and by putting it as a name of Western Pacific Timber, we felt that was deceiving the public and believing that they are truly a timber company, when we have researched and they're not a member of the Sustained Forestry Group. And all the other logging companies we've checked into, they are. And Western Pacific Timber is not. And to our knowledge, we haven't been able to find any timber industrial work that they have done within the state of Idaho. So we feel it's in name only, basically.
I think one of the things that, and this is just something that in my mind was developed, that Western Pacific Timber a timber company had to become involved, because the way I understand land exchanges, it's supposed to be like lands for like lands. And therefore, a timber company would be the most likely person to engage in the exchange. I'd like to kind of give a little background on exchanges a bit, and that's kind of why this map is up here. I think we understand exchanges by looking back. And one of the things on land exchanges that has bothered me on the Palouse and the Clearwater, and I'm sure it's for other places, other states as well, is the fact that the Forest Service always gives the impression that this is like lands for like lands, value for value, dollar for dollar. But the public is never privy to the appraisal that is made when the draft environmental impact statement comes out. And even when the final comes out, the appraisal is not in the final. So you never know whether this is really true. Now in this case, in previous cases, let me say, two previous cases, one which occurred on the Palouse district about 1994, it was finalized, was called the McGarry-Johnson Exchange, or Johnson-McGarry-Butte Exchange, and it was relatively 1,993 acres for about 4,300 acres of developed national forest land for 1,993 acres of undeveloped private timberland. This happened to be with the Potlatch Corporation in the Elk River area. I would cover that at a later subject, but anyway, that's one of the things that got me interested in land exchanges. The next one was the Beaver Cedar Exchange, and it involved a solid block of national forest ownership. These two maps up here show that. This was a solid block of about 16,000 acres of national forest ownership, and this is the Beaver block. It's about an hour out of Orfino, and there's a blacktop road that comes beyond it. How did this block, you can see the National Forest line runs right through here, the Clearwater National Forest line, and this block sits out by itself. It's important to realize how this land was acquired, and that's back around the turn of the century, 1906 or so. Congress came up with something called the Forest Homestead Act, and essentially this said if forest land could be shown better developed as agricultural land, that then a homestead could take place. You could have a homestead. So Big Timber decided that they wanted this land, which was very rich in big timber, white pine and great cedar at the time. And so they would find a person who would go into 160 acres. They would help clear maybe 5 acres, build a little cabin, and then they would buy the land, reportedly for $1, the 160 acres, in exchange for giving this person a full-time job at the mill. Well, after these lands had been taken of the prime timber that the company at that time wanted, then they decided in the 30s, why should I pay taxes on this land? And they turned it over to the feds, and the Forest Service began to manage this land for multiple use purposes in the late 50s and early 60s, and really turn it into something that was beautiful, multiple use lands. So now, here we come to the 1990s, and here's a piece of checkerboard land up here in the upper North Fork of the Clearwater, and it's called the Cedars area. And this is the area here on this fire map, large fire occurrence map. These two areas coincide. And that land was owned by DAW and had been severely cut over, quite a bit of it, the easily accessible stuff, by DAW